Thank you, Alex, for that introduction, and Mike, thanks for that story. Thanks for sharing your experience. That was riveting and really, really neat to hear because I've never heard your story. So thank you for sharing, and Sandy. It's an honor to be with all of you. Sylvia, it's good to see you. Yeah, I mean, listen, I love sharks. I will, Alex, you started this gala off talking about fear. And the reality is my whole relationship with sharks started with my huge fear of them. Jaws and surfing up in Northern California as a kid, just always had this huge fear of sharks. And that's what sort of was the driving force 15, 16 years ago to finally go see one. And I never thought of myself as really a fearful person. So in any case, I went out on a trip. I said, I want to go see this great white. I want to go see it. I want to go photograph it. I want to go sort of face my fears, which I did. I started talking about it. My wife got me a trip for my birthday, which I went and collected, went to the Guadalupe Island, and was the first one in the cage, 6 in the morning. 5 minutes in, shark came up out of the darkness, came by me like this. We locked eyes, and my life changed. Life changed like that. Because I saw the shark and I'm like, ooh, I see you, you see me. And there was this connection. You're not this killing, mindless monster that I thought you were. And I had a very sort of deep draw to this animal. And I was hanging out of the cage on that first trip by my waist, like the whole time. Wanted to get out there and sort of interact with this animal, but of course was not at that point in my life. I was still sort of scared of them because they are 2.5 tons of muscle, teeth, and the perfection of evolution. Really, they're one of the only living dinosaurs still around, right? So I started, I fell in love. My life changed, like I said, and 9 months later, I went to the Galapagos Islands for a big trip with UNESCO and the Charles Darwin Foundation and a big watch manufacturer. And I went down there really naive, and was seeing all these amazing things, whale sharks and schools of hammerhead. And, you talk about fear, and I had this huge fear because I have 3 daughters. And I was like, I don't think my daughters are going to be able to see some of this stuff in 10 years. I don't think they're going to see it. And I was up on the top of the boat at night with the stars, and I went down really naive. I didn't know, like Mike had mentioned, I didn't know we were killing 80 million sharks every year at that time. Found out half the Great Barrier Reef was gone, largest reef on our planet. And on and on and on. And it was just, it filled me with fear is what it did. It filled me with this impending doom that like my kids weren't going to be able to experience the ocean the way that I did. And so my life is always been about action. Like if you want to get something done, you do it and you go out there and hit it head on, which is, I made a decision on that boat that night. I said, I'm going to do everything I can do to help raise awareness and raise as much money as I can to help sharks, that specific issue, because there's so many issues and it can get really overwhelming. So I sort of put my attention into sharks and went on to, the last 16 years, do like 62 expeditions, which I will say, and this isn't to blow any air your way, Alex, but the fins attached boat, of all the 62 expeditions, is my favorite boat. Love the boat. It's a great expedition boat. Really, I love it. Rooms, everything about it. So I started this, this mission to change people's perceptions of sharks as best as I could with my, with my photography and documenting them. And sort of two main things I in retrospect, gained from this experience. One, which was that the only thing, photographs weren't changing people's perceptions. They were like, wow, you captured like a personality or a side of a shark that I hadn't seen, but it didn't really address their fear or their initial belief system, which is where fear comes from. It's a belief system that we took on, that someone, somehow I saw a movie, I saw a news thing, whatever, I believe, and it could be also genetic because sharks are these, whatever it may be, fear. So I had this belief system about this animal. So to change people's belief systems, it's almost, for the most part, an experiential thing, I think, that really draws change, because my photographs weren't doing it, videos weren't doing it. But what I saw was when I brought people out on boats, put them in the water with sharks, like within a half an hour, their complete perception of sharks changed. And that was a really powerful, my wife was like the perfect example. We took her out to Guadalupe. She cried for 18 hours, like, we're gonna die. I can't believe I'm doing this. You know, I'm the wife of White Mike. Of course, I'm the one that's gonna die. And I was just like, okay, okay. And like the second dive, she was standing on the top of the cage. I thought she was gonna jump on the back of the shark and swim away. That was how fast she changed. So that was really impactful on me, but I was like, how do you can't take the world diving with sharks. So that sort of led me to VR, which I know you had brought up at the beginning 4 years ago. I was like, wait, VR, I can take people with me under the water, which is what I've done. And we're about ready to release a series, which there's a lot of it deals with sharks and fears. The other thing that was so huge for me to realize was, like I mentioned, I didn't think I was a fearful person. This process of documenting and swimming with sharks made me realize how riddled with fear I am, or I have been. Fear of where's the check coming from? I mean, COVID's a perfect example. I have no control over this outside world. And my mind, of course, wants to control it, wants to feel safe. You know, where's the check coming from? Where's the job coming from? Are my kids going to be okay? Am I going to get cancer? I mean, it goes on and on and on, little things, you know, and our minds, or my mind is built that way where if I am not conscious and aware that fear is out there to get me, which every time I sign my book, I sign the same thing. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. And the sharks were such a great analogy because I was so scared of this big great white shark. And once I started, you know, spending, I don't know, at the 10th year mark, and I got out of the cage and started free swimming with great whites. And the way you do it is you have to swim head on at them and they swim off, but it's like you headed straight to that fear and it dissolves in front of your eyes. And it wasn't everything that I thought, which is most of the fears that I have are all future based and they never happen. 98% of the things I'm scared about never happen. The whole time on this gala, I was thinking my dogs were going to be going to the bathroom up in the house. I had this fear in the back of my head, like, when's the break? I got to break my puppy because I just fed her. Didn't happen though. It was a clean smelling house upstairs. So, you know, I can attach to those things. And from what this, you know, for years, people ask me, why do you swim with great whites? Why do you swim with sharks? Are you an adrenaline junkie? Why do you do it? And I couldn't answer them because I was like, no, it's not an adrenaline thing. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I was out of the cage with a great white and it hit me like a freaking lightning bolt. And like the hairs on my arms stood up in my wetsuit. And I'm like, oh my God, this is why I do this. Because it was like the only time in my life I was really in the moment. I was really, truly there, present, fully present, not thinking about the future, not thinking about the past, just being with that animal. And I was like, oh my God, this is why I do this. This is why I've been doing this. And I don't want to have to go underwater and swim with a shark to experience this, which led me to seeking mindfulness and meditation and other practices that take me out of fear. And, you know, this last 7-8 months with COVID and everything else has been a wonderful experience of dealing with trusting the universe, trusting God, Mother Nature, whatever you want to choose, to know that I'm okay right now, here today, and that's all that matters. And hopefully I'll have a tomorrow, you know, to go back out in the ocean and do what I love. I have faith that that will happen. And if it doesn't, it's out of my control. I can only control my reaction to things and how I deal with things, and how I choose to treat other people and how I choose to treat our planet. That is what I'm in control of. And if I do those things to the best, do those things in the man that I want to be, it's going to spread good and it's going to spread love. And that's all there is fear and faith. You have one or the other. It's, for me, black and white, fear or faith. Simple. There's no in between. I'm in one or the other throughout the day when I'm conscious. And I have chosen to try to go after faith as much as I can, because fear sucks. It just manifests nothing in life. And from my experience with this, it's been life-changing. I have experiences with my kids and with my friends and with nature that I didn't have pre-5 years ago. So it's really ironic. This thing that I feared the most has altered my life the most. You know, what I was so scared of changed my life. It's a freaking miracle. for a guy like me. And I'm really, really grateful. I'm really grateful for everyone that goes out and spends a minute trying to protect and to do what they can for our planet. I have the deepest respect, because that's all we can do as humans, right? Is do the best. And I think it can get really daunting and overwhelming when you look at the big picture, but it's amazing what one person can do by little actions. So anyone out there listening, you know, don't kid yourself on the ability you have to change our planet for these next generations. You have a lot of power, and it comes with picking up a plastic bottle on the beach, someone seeing you do that, kids seeing you do that. That's not your bottle, you know, something, whatever it may be. So with that, I thank you for having me here today. I'm excited to go, you know, when this is over, hopefully here in the next couple months, Alex, and get back out on the boat. And I look forward to Sylvia hearing you next. And I wish you all blessings and a wonderful, wonderful year ahead.